Welcome. This is AllMinucOne Quick Shots. So, folks, Nancy Pelosi has decided to release a press statement about a bill on the House floor which will invoke the 25th Amendment. And specifically, it is not going to be for removing Donald Trump. So why would she do such a thing? Well, as those that speculate would speculate, it is probably because Joe Biden is kind of feeble and senile. And even though he's not fully demented, he is basically not a very good politician, hasn't been for a long time. So remember, folks, if you vote for Joe Biden, you're actually voting for Kamala Harris. Now, without this bill in place, it doesn't really matter because I do believe that Joe will step down and resign within his first or second year. This might make a big issue because I don't know that this has happened before in presidential history, but whatever. So Joe doesn't have to maybe put egg on his face. Maybe they put this in place. Maybe they put it in place in case Trump wins and they can try to remove him later and use the excuse it's not to remove Trump now. So the next item to talk about is the stimulus bill. It's back on, apparently. Who knows? Apparently, the Democrats wanted $2.2 trillion. Now, how that's allocated is hard to say. Before, they wanted to add in the Green New Deal and a bunch of other, pork spending for their special projects instead of just giving money to the American people after the government forcefully shut down your business and took away your First Amendment right to assemble. But the Republicans were saying 1.6 trillion. And now the offer is 1.8. So they're negotiating. They might meet somewhere in the middle. Supposedly the Democratic Party is wanting at least $2 trillion. Why that number specifically, I don't know. But as I made a quick shot the other day, what you really have to understand is yes, do people need the stimulus? Absolutely. At the same time, this will add to the national debt and will accelerate the collapse of the US dollar. Now, I know there are plenty of people out there who try to make Keynesian cases and all kinds of economic voodoo about how that's not going to happen because fractional reserve banking is foolproof. Well, history begs to differ with your assessment. Hyperinflation will happen. We already have a large devaluation of our currency since FDR removed the gold standard back in the day, and then Nixon finally completed that. And we went to a full-on fiat currency. So as an example, for about 150 years in the United States, 1 ounce of gold was worth about $20. Now, it varied from 18 to about $22. And essentially, since the gold standard has gone away, which, by the way, is unconstitutional because the Constitution says that the only means of which the U.S. government can produce money is through gold or silver. But that's an aside because, who cares about that piece of paper? But since that has happened, now an ounce of gold is about $1,800, that is, an ounce. $1,800 an ounce versus $20 an ounce. That shows you how much your money has devalued. And it goes up even more the more gold, of course, you go to purchase. So just realize that this is not good in the long run. The federal government needs to cut out many of its programs, needs to cut out much of its bureaucracy. That is, we need to get our national debt down. We need to get back to sound money. Now, I have heard things in the wind that Donald Trump wants to do such a thing. He did talk about it in the past, but we do have to consider that he is fighting against the entrenched deep state that has been doing business as usual for over 100 years. They don't really care about the constitutionality. I'm not saying Trump fully does either, but I think he does understand basic economic things considering he's been a rather successful businessman. And you can point to his losses, but I mean, that's just freaking business. J.C. Penney failed numerous times. So did the colonel of KFC. Thomas Edison had something like 1,000 patents for light bulbs before he finally got it right. Of course, Edison was known to also steal intellectual property rights and other things like that. But that's an aside. And I don't know. Did I have anything else? Oh, yesterday I mentioned in the quick shots the right-wing conspiracy to go after Governor Whitmer. Well, these guys are seemingly anarchist. Maybe they're ANCAPs. I'm not sure. We don't have enough detail. They are certainly liberty-minded, freedom-minded. At the same time, they seem to be very anarchistic. So there are different kinds of anarchists. I myself am a minarchist. I would say first I'm a classical liberal and a minarchist, which is generally what classical liberalism invokes. I'm a constitutionalist and a federalist. That pretty much sums up how I view politics in a nutshell. These folks, they don't really like government. Apparently, they were talking about having invoking some sort of Bill of Rights on their own and having their own little society, which is quite interesting because the Chaz or the Chop or whatever you want to call it did this exact same thing a little while back, and it was just allowed to happen. Interestingly, these folks who some of them were in a militia were going to go after police officers as well, and they in Michigan, and they were indicted with all these things under Michigan law specifically, not just through the FBI. But I do find it crazy that Antifa can be found very easily online, has been for years, and you can target their movements. They have been infiltrated by groups like Project Veritas. I've shown you on a video I've done, one of their websites, Seven Hill Antifa. They're all over Twitter. Twitter acts like, it's no big deal. They advertise freely on social media, and yet they are just operating with impunity. Where is the infiltration? Where are the people who are going in to break this up? Where are the feds? So that's pretty much all I have for today, folks, with the quick shots. I will be making a longer video later on today about that particular incident, just based on one article. So hopefully it'll be about 20 or 30 minutes long, not too long. And then, of course, I'm going to have a video later on today about the history of our government and the Democratic Party. So that should be rather fun. And with all that, this has been all -1 quick shots, and you all be well.